So it started.
Yep. How's everybody doing on this fine Tuesday? I'm your one of the hosts here. I'm Carlos Millsap, and this is our co-host here, Brad Stewart. We just love being here with you every week. Brad, how was your weekend?
Excellent. Excellent. Beautiful weather. Fun time.
Good,
Good
good,
stuff.
good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, do anything anything new? Anything exciting?
Just happy to be alive and breathe the fresh air, man. It's a wonderful time to live and be able to work through all this excitement that's going on in the world today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Challenging, but good. It's a good time to be alive.
Yeah. I guess
It
it's
beats,
challenging, just like the stock market's challenging, huh?
it beats the alternative, right?
Absolutely. Like I said, it's better than even being in the hospital.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yep. So, what do you think of the stock market today?
I took a glimpse of it just a little while ago. All three major indices were down, noticeably down, and the volatility is just crazy. It's all over the place,
It
and it
is.
doesn't seem to be very stable.
It doesn't. Which I think we started talking about. What if, and we've encountered this before, where a person gets close to retirement and says, "Hey, look, I'm going to ride this roller coaster on out a little bit longer," and the next thing you know, the bottom drops out. Where does that leave them?
High
What do
and
they do
dry.
now? Yeah, that's a dangerous game, huh?
It can be really scary. It's kind of like the old days when before tugboats and all that stuff were shipping. When the tide would come in and the ships would go out with the tide. Hey, if the tide's gone and you got to leave now, it's too late. You missed. It's like missing your ship, missing your train, missing your plane. And if any of us here in this country have any experience with this kind of stuff, it's a risky business.
Yes, it is. Big time risky. Big time risky. Yeah. So, I know that people have to be uneasy uh, as they enter what we call the red zone of retirement, knowing that there's the potential that this stock market could just fall apart. Um, you know, so let's go ahead and begin our discussion about that. About the market risk. We need because people when because you and I talk about it all the time. When you're saving
Right.
means that there's no probability of risk or no probability of loss. But when you have risk involved, there's probability of loss. And most people that we talk to, they have their money in 401k, 403b, and a lot of people when they first signed up with these things, and they're talking to their human resource department, they had no idea that their money was in the stock market.
Nope. They just sign the approval form, get me enrolled, get me going. Mo, do you want to know how much? You take care of it. I don't want to mess with it.
Exactly.
And it's sad because it's their money. The people that are listening, it's your money. It's your future. And to not be involved in one way, shape, or form other than signing the form to authorize the deduction out of your paycheck, that's a frightening thought.
Very, very frightening. Very frightening. And like you said, you know, you're talking to an enrollment person that comes out to their job, and that person's not really helping them with allocations. They don't know, what plan to choose or what allocations to make. And most of these mutual fund companies that their money is going to is really not a great company at all. Yeah.
Well, there's an old expression that says, a lot of people don't know beans from apple butter when it comes to certain subjects in their life. And I really think over the years, I've learned that this is a major issue, that people don't know beans from apple butter when it comes to their 401ks. And I'm not speaking of everybody, because there are some of you who really take a very sharp interest in this, but I would venture that the majority, and I mean a larger than 50-50 majority, have no idea what their money's in, how it's doing, other than they get their statement. And okay, here's where I'm at.
Right.
And unless they hear something on the news, the stock market tanked today, or this happened, or this is really tough on our 401k plans. If they didn't watch the news, see it on the live feeds or whatever on their phones, they don't have a clue. They really don't.
Have a clue. They don't.
And that's frightening to me.
Yeah. One good thing about having history is that you can learn from it. And so if we take a look back, there's some periods that we can look at in the stock market, and what the stock market has done, and how it left potential retirees. What's your thoughts on that?
Wait, run that by me again.
I said, we're talking about
The history.
The history. Here we can learn from history, and I think if anybody that's looking to retire sometime in the coming future, they need to take they need to learn from the history. If we look back, there's some times when the stock market didn't do so good when people were ready to retire.
Well, I mean, we can go all the way back to the crash that opened up the Great Depression, and it was not uncommon for people to feel so detached and so lost because they lost everything, that there were people jumping off buildings, committing suicide, stepping in front of trains. I mean, the list goes on, because everything they had was invested in the stock market, and the stock market crashed. Today, fortunately, I think more people are recognizing that it's not the end of the world, but it's gonna create some pain financially for people. But I would venture a guess that a good portion of the people that are joining us here are familiar with the 2000 to 2003 tech crash, or you like to call it, you called it something else when we spoke earlier.
The dot-com implosion.
The dot-com, yes. Probably that's probably a little bit more. It had most to do with the NASDAQ. That's real tech heavy in their stocks. And then again, people are probably much more familiar with the 08 real estate crash.
Yep.
And you go too far off one side, and all of a sudden everything goes down the tubes. And I was really shocked. I mean, I was not in the market in the 2000, 2002, the 3 years that was going on.
Right.
But to realize that the NASDAQ and people that were heavily invested in that were losing close to 70% of their savings.
Yes.
I mean, 70%.
Yep. Yep.
Whew.
And what does that cause a person who's near retirement or who's at retirement? What does that cause them to do?
Well, you and I, we were both uh, in the business in '08 when the same thing happened with the real estate
Yep.
implosion crash. And, I mean, you and I both saw people that we worked with losing upwards of 55% of their portfolio. And when it's all said and done, this wasn't a funny joke, but it was a joke that was being made was that, my gosh, my 401k is now a 201k.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
in the world? I mean, people that are millionaires on paper all of a sudden are half a millionaire. You know, their $1 million went to 500,000. Um, I mean, that's how risky this thing can be. Just to give people a taste of what that's like. That's a frightening thing. And
It is.
I know the people that I worked with. I had several people that I was working with that. Carlos, you know me. You know I'm more of a conservative kind of guy, as are you. And people were going, "Oh boy, now what do I do?" Well, the main thing people were saying, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to keep working." I was ready to retire in the next year or two, they'd say, and the next thing I find out, they say, "Well, I guess I'm going to just keep working." And so what they started doing was trying to rebuild the money that they had lost.
Exactly.
They had no
Yep.
guarantees. They had no net underneath them to catch them. They were
Right.
they were at risk from the get-go, and they didn't know how bad it was going to hurt until somebody came along and punched them right in the face with the crash.
Exactly.
So,
And at that point, they have more time behind them than they have in front of them, which means that the ability to try to raise that money is
right.
is very difficult.
A lot of people overfunding IRAs, 401ks, doing everything they could to get back up to where they wanted to be.
Right. Exactly. And then the sad thing about those people funding those 401ks is that there is a limitation to how much you can put in there, and then you know with the potential of rising taxes, now you put all that money in there. Now that money you put it in there while the tax rates were low, and now you're going to take it out when the tax rates are high. So
Well,
they're really putting it to you.
and like you and I have talked on numerous occasions, and that still doesn't even venture the conversation into the whole discussion of fees and how much you're losing, not just to taxes as you described, but now you're talking about how much you're going to lose. You're going to pay a guy to manage your money that just lost 55% of your portfolio.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
those guys, I don't have anything against them personally, but they make money whether you earn money or make money, or whether they make you money or lose you money, they still get paid.
Yep.
And that's painful. I mean, that's criminal in my books,
Yep. My
So,
running joke on that is that if you get yourself a stockbroker, you keep on messing with them, you'll be broker.
it's
Yeah.
true. I mean,
Yeah, he's supposed to
I mean,
manage your money, but help you manage to lose it or make it. So
well, and
and they're gonna
and
get
you
paid
think about it.
regardless, like you said.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. They're gonna get
Yeah.
paid.
Yeah. So, and I think the other thing is what it does is it sets up the conversation to go in the direction of recognizing what you and I have come to know as the lost decade of 2000 to 2009, 10 years.
Brutal.
I mean, when you started 2000 and when you hit 2009, you were probably right about at the same number in 2009 as you were at 2000.
Yep.
Now, where's the growth? How does that grow your money towards your retirement?
Yeah.
That's and one of the guys that I talked to even went so far as to say, when you average it all out, you're going to be in the red about 1% per year over those 10 years. That's
Wow.
not growth. You're going backwards,
Going backwards.
which is, hence the name, the lost decade.
Right.
So, and my big question when I talk to people like that, so how does that make you feel? You know,
Yeah.
you're paying these guys, you're losing money, but they're taking money out of your principal for their fees. And God only knows down the road, you're going to retire, and the money that you've lost, hopefully you've been able to recapture some of it, but you still have to pay Uncle Sam taxes on all of it.
Absolutely.
One of these times, I hope we can get into the tax question and discuss that, because I got to tell you, my feeling is that people that are working towards retirement, when it's tied to the stock market and the risk that you find in the stock market, are playing with fire.
They
And
are.
in my opinion, it's a losing proposition, especially for the
Yep.
average Joe like you and I. We're not multimillionaires.
Nope.
We're just average people.
Just average piece of people. And then,
So
and when people get towards that, within 10 years of that retirement, they need to be as conservative as possible, because, any huge loss could mean that they're going to not be able to retire, or they're not going to be able to retire with the lifestyle that they wanted.
there you go. And I think that's really, really critical, that they're gonna lose. And I think the one thing that I really want to impart to everybody is the fact that the Wealth Made Easy for You plan, based on the infinite banking concept, has guarantees. The compounding continues. There is no downside when you're looking at continual growth, because the stock market does not affect the money that you've saved in your plan.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great. Well, we come to the end, and we're glad that you guys were able to come out and watch this, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching it replay. But we want to talk to you more. I mean, and we want to be here to help you. Sometimes, we try to do it on our own. Brad and I, we both played college football, and we probably could have learned college football on our own, or how to play football on our own. But it made it easy when we had a coach. You have a coach for everything. So let us be your coach when it comes to talking about your retirement money and how to avoid risk. And once again, I'm Carlos Millsap. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, this is Brad Stewart. Glad you could be with us. Let me close with one last thought. I know last time we got together, we talked a quote from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has a golden rule. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. So I'll leave that with you as we close down tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow, 6 o'clock Pacific, and we look forward to our time together with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey, good
Take
night,
care.
everybody.
Good night.